An ex-WWE star sent back to jail, an update on Brock Lesnar's possible WWE return, WWE 2K25 modes revealed, and more. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Get exclusive bonus videos over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Buff Bagwell was one of the more infamous characters in WCW, joining the New World Order, wearing a big fluffy hat, and once wrestling for his own mum, Judy Bagwell, on a pole. And in 2001, he became even more notorious in WWE because, as legend has it, Vince McMahon was all ready to relaunch WCW as its own brand under the WWE banner, but he saw Bagwell versus Booker T wrestle on Raw and found it so boring, he scrapped the entire project. I actually worked with him on a TV taping back in the early 2010s, and he was a really nice, humble guy, even though he kinda killed WCW. In August 2020, though, he was involved in a car crash. According to Cobb County Police, he had been driving impaired due to prescription medication. Buff has now posted a video on his YouTube channel entitled "I'm Going Back to Jail Today." In the pre-recorded video, Buff says he's 2.5 years sober, but he's heading to jail for 3 days from January 27th. He says this is because he's in a very strong, strict rehabilitation program, and that he got a recent sanction because he didn't document an out-of-state trip properly. For some, getting a sanction could mean a fine or doing community service, but under his program, it means he has to spend time in jail. The reason he posted a video in advance explaining this is because whenever he gets a violation in the DUI court program, it lists his original offense from 2020, making it seem like a new DUI when it isn't, so people shouldn't worry as he's in a good place right now. It's now been over a year since Janelle Grant filed her lawsuit accusing Vince McMahon of sexual misconduct and trafficking, allegations which he denies. It led to Vince resigning from WWE the day before last year's Royal Rumble, and it also scuppered creative plans for the return of Brock Lesnar. Grant's lawsuit also alleged that Vince requested her to send sexual content to a UFC fighter and WWE talent the company was trying to re-sign. The Wall Street Journal later reported this name to be Lesnar. As a result, WWE pulled him from all their Rumble and Road to WrestleMania plans, where he was apparently meant to have matches against Gunther and Dominic Mysterio, removed him as a playable character from the WWE 2K24 game, and edited around him in video packages. But since August, WWE has started to reference the Beast in promos on TV. He's been such a big part of modern WWE history, there's an argument that it's hard not to, especially when characters are discussing the really big stars they've beaten in the past. Just on this Monday's Raw, Drew McIntyre referenced slaying the Beast at WrestleMania 39, which led to Paul Heyman joining forces with Roman Reigns and kicking off the whole Bloodline saga. But there is another interpretation. WWE are subtly testing the waters for an eventual Lesnar return. The main crux of McMahon's legal defense against Grant is that this shouldn't be a public hearing. It should first go to private arbitration, as laid out in the NDA that Grant signed years ago. Grant's lawyers have until Friday, the 31st of January, to submit their arguments as to why the case should stay public, which is arguably in their best interests. With this in mind, the Wrestling Observer has reported that there is no movement on Lesnar returning to WWE, as the legal department has to sign off on it first, and that likely won't happen until they're confident the Grant lawsuit is being resolved, definitely ruling him out of a Rumble return on Saturday, and most probably for the rest of the road to WrestleMania. Sportskeeda's Chris Featherstone has reported there have been no internal conversations within WWE about Lesnar's return as a result. Brock remains on WWE.com's active roster page. But that's not the only curious thing about WWE.com. Jordan Grace finished up with TNA at their Genesis PLE on the 19th. Fightful Select, PW Insider, and the Wrestling Observer all reported that she was now on her way to join WWE, after appearing in last year's Women's Royal Rumble and frequently turning up on NXT TV. The speculation is she'll fully debut at this Saturday's Royal Rumble. And now the news has officially been confirmed by WWE. Web development team. If you type in the URL www.com/superstars/Jordan-Grace, which would be her page if she was an active roster member, you are greeted with an access denied message that reads, "You are not authorized to access this page." This means that WWE have added Grace to their official online roster, but it just isn't publicly viewable yet. Now, this was where I was going to make a joke about, oh, who else can we try this for? Where I'd type a stupid name in the web address, but it wouldn't come back with any proper results, and I'll go, oh, god damn it, this person who obviously isn't coming back to WWE isn't coming back to WWE. And the name I put in was David Arquette. And it also said, you are not authorized to access this page. Yeah, he wrestled once for Raw in 2010, but so did Floyd Mayweather, and that just redirects you to the main roster page. Kenny Omega redirects you to the main roster page. Ray Phoenix redirects you to the main roster page. Arquette, what aren't you telling us? In an interview with Chris Van Vliet, Grace didn't talk about going to WWE, but she did explain what happened with her TNA contract, where she'd been since 2018. Apparently her deal originally ran out in October 2025, but TNA management agreed to let her out 10 months earlier in January, potentially because of the working relationship agreed with WWE, which sounds like a much better situation than what happened to PCO. On the same evening that Grace was finishing up her TNA run at Genesis, the promotion's then current digital media champion, PCO, was shooting on the company and trying to destroy its belt at a GCW show. His rant against TNA was cut off by the production team, so he's now spoken to Fightful about what was going on behind the scenes. He said he was very upset with TNA's new management, as at July's Slammiversary show, he believes he helped sell out the biggest house in the Anthem era of TNA. He spoke about fighting to double the venue size from a 2,000 to 4,000 capacity, which he claims would have cost the same amount. He promised he'd do all he could to sell it out, and to his credit, he did. The event's attendance figure was 4,100. He then claims he had a verbal agreement for a new contract for 2025 on a very similar salary and conditions that he was already on. But backstage, at TNA's last show of the year, Final Resolution on the 13th of December, he saw other wrestlers coming out of the office and quitting. He was then told that they can't honour the deal they spoke about. They changed it to less money, which he agreed on a handshake, but then he got a concussion in December and nobody came with him to the hospital, and he was told to put the expense on his credit card and that the promotion would reimburse him. From that point, he didn't feel valued by TNA. Ultimately, he claims TNA pulled his contract offer, which is why he did what he did at the GCW show. Now here's a special word for our wonderful Patreons.
Hey everyone, professional wrestler Turbo John here, the brother of Turbo Jack and our dear departed Turbo Jake. We still ain't done found my dear brother Jake. He was last seen at the Gala Bingo in Birmingham, Alabama, but we just haven't seen him since. I've heard tales of him going off on a hang glide and adventure and just going sailing. And I will sail no more, is what he's believed to have said before he sailed off. And I'd like to thank all of y'all who've supported our quest to find him. I'd like to thank some of you fine folk who have donated to patreon.com/WrestleTalk, because you've given your hard-earned money that you get from sweating and bleeding your fingers dry to patreon.com/WrestleTalk, because it helps us not only create amazing exclusive content for all y'all, it also helps us find our lost brother. And I want to give a special shout out to some names, because these are super special people right here in my heart. So a shout out to you, Bald and Brummy, Brett Linforth, Big Jiggy, Josh Martin, Born to Do It, Evan Shelby, The Abominable, Michael Abbott, The Machine Gun, Alex Anderson, Go Ace, The Ace of Spades, Adrian Santil, and lastly, The Cleaner, Kenny Shaw. Thanks for doing all the cleaning work on my dirty flat this past Friday. So I implore all of y'all to head on over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk, because it helps us here at WrestleTalk. It helps me maintain my great and glorious career, and it helps find lost wrestlers. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Thank y'all.
While the Rumble is the perfect place to debut new stars, it seems some of WWE's signed wrestlers are being saved for NXT. The 28th of January episode of NXT ended with a cryptic bars and tone video with the text, Vengeance Day. Vengeance Day is NXT's next big PLE, which is happening on Saturday the 15th of February. There's currently no word on who this could be. Solomon Crow NXT return confirmed. There's another name that WWE could debut soon though. Former New Japan star and Bloodline family member Hikuleo, who has been signed with the company since July. The initial report had him set to debut in NXT first, instead of being called up to the main roster right away as the latest man in a black hoodie interfering in a Bloodline match. And now the Wrestling Observer is reporting 6 months after signing him, WWE is still in no rush to debut him, as they don't want to put him on screen too early. So we'll just make him in the new WWE 2K game instead. Following the reveal of Roman Reigns as the game's cover star on Monday's Raw, and that it would be released on the 14th of March, 2K announced more details for the game. There will now be intergender matches, so you can finally book Rhea Ripley versus Gunther. My GM mode is returning, hooray, which you can now play online, and the new game will see the debut of The Island, which is an interactive world made up of a series of areas built around different WWE themes. The Island offers players the opportunity to explore and challenge other players while vying to earn a WWE contract by impressing the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns. As you can see, the island has a gigantic statue of Roman in solid gold. Never one to miss an opportunity to hate! Drew McIntyre posted about Sami Zayn featuring on the 2K Special Edition cover with the rest of the Bloodline. What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? With Raw moving to Netflix, we don't have as many ratings and quarter-hour analytics to endlessly argue about anymore. But the delayed overall global number is still coming out. According to Netflix's own site, the 20th of January episode of Raw was ranked 7th globally for the week, pulling in 3 million views. This is down almost 50% from the 5.9 million views in week 1. Week 2 pulled in 3.7 million. As 3 million is the global number, the domestic US viewing figures likely aren't massively different from the 1.6 million it was getting on average on the USA network. The second Saturday night's main event pulled in 1.5 million viewers on USA, and SmackDown drew a very strong 2.5 million viewers and a 0.71 demo rating last Friday night. There's a brand new episode of Worst Match Ever available to watch right now on PFK. It's 2023's Worst Match of the Year winner of LA Knight versus Bray Wyatt in a Mountain Dew pitch black match. Click the video on screen to watch us. Watch that now.